Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski, and I am joined today by the lovely Michelle Manjarrez. Michelle is an energy healer, somatic and emotional process guide, and possibility coach. Combining the latest best practices with ancient wisdom, she inspires the inner emotional and somatic healing of individuals, groups, and communities, helping them to re-experience core needs such as trust, wholeness, love, empowerment, and belonging. Michelle has 12 years experience using sacred plant medicine for healing and transformation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Tara. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm excited.
Michelle and I met in Tulum, Mexico through a wonderful healing community that we're both a part of. And I'm super happy to have you here today. It was so lovely getting to know you over our Zoom calls and learn about your work. And I can't wait to share that with the audience. So before we get started about your amazing work, which I want to dive really deep into, can you just tell everyone a little bit about how you got started on your personal healing journey?
Thank you for asking. I do find that it's very important for people to know that the history of how one steps away from modern culture and is able to create their own path. I find in my work that many people are kind of fed up with modern culture and we don't even know how to do that. And for me, it was a very magical experience. It began 20 years ago. I was in Miami and I was an instructor and a special ed teacher and a single mom and an immigrant. So I was going through a lot as far as being in the rat race, being a single mom. And one day, out of the blue, really in this context that had nothing to do with spirituality, there was this group of people and they were playing the guitar and singing. One of my friends was a musician, and I got hit with a torpedo of energy in my solar plexus, and it pushed me backwards. I had no idea what was happening. I call it that now, right? I'm using language for it now, but at the time I had no idea. I felt quite embarrassed about it. I thought, well, what's going on here? People came to ask me, are you okay? And I said, I couldn't say anything. When I opened my mouth, these languages came out that were ancestral. So the short of it is, because it's quite a long story, the short of it is that that was my first spiritual awakening. And that was about 20 years ago. And that was big. Yeah, that was really, really big. And I can share now how I went into plant medicine, because that was a few years later.
Yeah. Well, I quickly want to know a little bit more about the experience of these ancestral voices. Was it a little bit like praying in tongues where you're praying in the spirit, or was it like it was different languages?
Languages. Yes. I would open my mouth, and from my solar plexus, these languages would come out. I ended up counting. That experience lasted. It diminished in intensity slowly. So they lasted full on for 7 hours. I couldn't speak English or Spanish for 7 hours. And then they dwindled down through the months. It took about 3 months. And yeah, I counted them later, and it was six of them. It's 8 now, but it was six of them that I was
But
channeling.
which ones were you channeling?
Well, no idea, actually. It was also interesting because even though I'm an educator and a researcher, I found that I didn't get so curious as to where or what or record them or send them to a linguist. I can't explain why. It was this kind of like the sacredness of a gift, and it didn't have to be completely understood, is how I see it now.
No, I
And
understand.
there they are. Some of them are very shamanic in quality. Others are more, I want to say, Mongolian type
Mm.
languages. Yeah, different types of qualities of languages that just flowed through me. And it completely threw me off because I was in the wrong context to have that. I thought I was crazy. I had two little girls to take care of. I parked in front of a hospital several times thinking maybe I need to go into a psychiatric ward. And I didn't tell anyone of my close family or friends because I was very scared about what would happen with my daughters. So I pretty much kept it to myself. It was not easy, Tara. And I'm glad I did it that way because I have a sense that a lot of people that have had mystical experiences ended up medicated or in psychiatric wards, or we see them on the streets as homeless people.
Wow. Yeah. So this is the perfect time to talk a little bit about your work and how you're bridging the teachings of the master plants with modern culture.
Hmm.
So tell us more about that work that you're doing now.
Yes. Well, I'd like to also share a little bit about the story of how the plant medicine was the one who helped me. She helped me, ayahuasca, actually. She's the one
Oh,
that really
wow.
supported me. Yeah. So when that big intense experience happened, Tara, I pretty much shut it down. I didn't know what to do with it. Again, my girls were young and I was, in the rat race. I didn't know what to do. So years later, when my daughter was a teenager, one of my daughters was a young teen, she became very, very depressed. And in that depression, I tried all of the modern culture modalities, psychologists, like 12 of them. I was also an educator, so I tried to do psychoeducational testing, seeing what would work, what wouldn't work. And because my background is in special education, I had a pretty big psychology background as far as core classes. And I was always very, very interested in human behavior, in the sadness and the anger, and kind of taking care of the parents of kids with special needs and the kids themselves. So I always had that knack, let's say. And still with my daughter, I couldn't help her. And the short of it is, there came a point where I decided to drop everything. I dropped the job. I was living in Miami at the time. I dropped Miami. My other daughter was a little older, so she was going to university. And we went on a journey not knowing where or what. All I wanted to do was be with her 100% and show her my love by dropping everything else. And I felt my love would heal her, literally. So it didn't work like that. Exactly. We went to Europe. We did all of these beautiful things, and still she was struggling and struggling. And one day, as we were in London on the end leg of the trip, and I really didn't know how this would end, I had no clue, but things were getting better and worse. And one day she said, Mom, I need ayahuasca. She said it. And
Yeah.
I wrote it down and I felt, okay, this is something important. And that's how my journey took us to Peru. And we both experienced ayahuasca together. And Mother Ayahuasca opened my
Mm.
healing channels again, my channeling energies. And I became a lot more, I want to say, stronger in an understanding that this gift was given to me for a reason, and that plant medicine was one of the. I don't want to say that plant medicine is a tool of mine. I'm actually devoted to being, uh, yeah, an assistant to the plant medicine. I'm
Yeah.
devoted to being an assistant to the plant medicine. It kind of works like that. And so yeah, my journey began and I started to work with plant medicine quite a bit in my own healing journey, healing my own self. My daughter was completely transformed by that experience, and she now just
Mm.
completed her MFA at USC. Literally, she's graduating this month in California when she really couldn't even go to school at that time years ago. And through these experiences, I think this is kind of the question. I came to realize that this bridge into what indigenous people, how they've worked with the medicine for hundreds and hundreds of years, works really well for many people from Western society. However, many times there's not an integration piece, or
Mm,
there's not a preparation piece for what's
yeah.
going to happen. And I know that was it for me as well. So yeah, regarding the bridge, that's how I got started into this understanding and knowing, and going full on into the medicine.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about integration and preparation.
Hmm.
I'd love to just, dive into that a little bit more because, as you know, I've experimented with plant medicine as well. And I've also found that there's a lot of people that will offer the ceremonies and you can come and you can sit, but there really isn't any work that's happening prior and after. And that was one of the reasons that you and I connected so well, is because I really
Hmm.
loved your process of how you really meet people. And there's a big preparation, then the
Yeah.
journey, and then of course the integration. So talk us a little bit more about that. And then I also think you talk a little bit about the dangers that you can face with spiritual bypass if you're not actually doing the integration correctly.
Mm. Yeah, so slowly through my own practice, first through my own healing, then through my own practice, I came to realize that there's this, a lot of people were going to Peru, for example, because I spend a lot of time in Peru. A lot of people were going to Peru trying to find the healing through these practices, through the shamanic plant medicine and all of that, and they were bypassing the emotional piece, so the trauma piece or the emotional piece. And then without integration, like you're saying, they weren't able to really take it back home, take the healing back home. And they were left with, yes, for sure, some level of change, I want to say, for the most part. I'm not saying that everyone, uh, because the danger, as you were asking, the danger is that if they feel like they couldn't integrate the medicine correctly, it could take them on a loop and completely, I want to say, stack up on the trauma. But that's the rarer cases. The What I want to talk about, the danger, is that we have this we have this longing to accelerate our healing because we're living this one life, right? We're living this one life. We have this one opportunity to live it to the fullest, to thrive in our purpose. When people take plant medicine, that's this longing, this urgency of healing. So bypassing the emotional piece and bypassing the integration of the journey itself, I find is not beneficial, because we're losing or missing an opportunity for the acceleration of the healing. That's kind of how I want to bring this on to your audience, is that the emotional piece is also spiritual. People
Mm,
have this sense that mm, spirituality has to do more with like Zen practices and yogic practices. And yes, of course, they also are. However, emotions are such a big part of the human experience. And
yes.
there, the trauma and the wounds from early childhood, from past lives, from things that have happened are there, creating these blockages in our
Mm,
spiritual path.
yes.
So the way that yeah, does that make sense to you?
Oh,
Has that
yes.
been your experience, Tara, as well? Yeah.
That's been my personal experience, absolutely. And, really, and this is also what I want to talk about is like why somatic, right? Why
Mhm.
somatic emotional work. And I know that's one of your key focuses. And I'm also so drawn to that because I know that is such part of the work that I'm here to master in my own healing journey.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, issues in my tissues, like literally the trauma that I have stored in my body and just working through that. It's been my own personal healing journey.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's so important and it's so effective. And the reason that it's so effective, speaking about somatic work, somatic emotional work, so pretty much using the intelligence of our being. So we are beings. We're born pure beings. That's how we're born. And then through school, trauma of early childhood, parents, we pretty much get repressed into these boxes or these systems that have nothing to do with the freedom that we were born to express and unfold in our life, right? And
Mhm.
so, what I have found is that the emotional body and the somatic, like the physical body, the energetic body, so outside of the mind, right? So, making the distinction of four bodies, outside of the mental body, all of those bodies have an intelligence. The medicine, the sacred plant medicine, also has an intelligence. People that have experienced plant medicine get that it has an intelligence. So there is this intelligent resources, great abundance of intelligent resources outside of our mind, which is what has been mostly nourished in modern culture, right? Good grades, great universities, you need to be intelligent. If you cry, you're stupid. If you're scared, you're stupid. Like there's a lot of these narratives that will bring this value to the mind and not nourishing the rest of our being, the rest of our intelligence beings, really. So the somatic work, what it does is it allows the body and through the emotional healing processes that come through somatic work. So I work with the body and the big emotions at the same time. So we will go deep into an emotional healing process. Let's say a person has a grief because of a parent having passed away when they were very little and they were never
Mhm.
able to complete that grief, right?
Yeah.
Never were able to express that. And so when they have an emotional healing process, with or without medicine, by the way, because I also work this without medicine, uh, at that moment, they know intuitively where to touch. They will start touching themselves. And I will just guide and facilitate through what is going on there. What is it feeling like over there? Or what's the color of it? Or how old were you? Or many different pathways that I, as a guide, intuitively also can help them navigate. Where is it and where is it in the body? And
Yeah.
because they are in liquid state, like in a very high emotional, almost like when toddlers have these very high emotions and they can't think or talk or feel, that happens to adults as well when you have proper guidance and a safe space to allow them to. It's not a release, it's an expression. So it's not a catharsis, by the way, Tara. This is important. It's not about
Yeah.
doing a catharsis of anger work only. Although I think that's great too, rage work and all those things. I also work with that. This is more a completion of what was incomplete in that being as their mom maybe passed away when they were little and they hadn't been able to complete it, and there's an intelligence in their being. I say this over and over. We are our own medicine, and with proper guidance and facilitation, this can be expressed, so it can be completed. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you said we are our own medicine. I always
Yes.
say that. We are the medicine. You are the medicine. Nature's the medicine. I do want to share something that I think would be helpful.
Mm,
'Cause I have a question about this, but it's my own personal experience. When my mother passed away when I was 27 in 2008,
I'm sorry.
I really don't thank you, but I don't really remember this visceral experience so
Mm,
vividly. But I had a partner at the time who reminded me that my body went into a flailing,
mm,
kind of like from my solar plexus.
mm,
Like I started, and what happened, he said, was I have vague memories that I started to like buck my body backwards,
mm,
coming from my center. And I ended up like landing on the floor, and kind of it was something like this, right?
mm,
And a big, beautiful bird came by.
mm,
And it was something like this, and just trauma in my body, right? It was,
mm,
I never had that experience again. Um, but I always wonder if that is just some stuck things or trauma that is still not dealt with, or if that was just like a response. I mean, have
mm.
you ever heard of something like that?
Yes, for sure. I think actually that was a beautiful thing that happened, Tara, because
Yeah.
mm, instead of the trauma being stuck, what happened is because it gets stuck in the automatic nervous system, right? That's where the
Yeah.
trauma gets stuck initially. And instead of the trauma getting stuck, your body, the intelligence of your own body was releasing it through those movements, through that expression, so that the energy could move and the trauma could be moved. It's almost like you
Yeah.
probably, this would be my sense, have less trauma stuck because of that.
Oh, that's great. I always
Yeah.
wondered because I was like, whoa, that was so unreal.
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How does that land for you, what I'm sharing?
That makes sense. I mean, that really does make sense because also when I've done different healing modalities and when I've also done plant medicine ceremonies,
Mm.
I tend to like, I'm very much that like Kundalini activation, like the CAP process. Like I'm able to really feel it through the energy move through my body very, very easily.
There you
So,
go.
so it's a
So you
gift.
are your medicine. You are your medicine.
Yes, I love that. But tell
Mm.
us a little bit more in detail about how you combine the somatic, emotional work with the sacred ceremonies.
Mm. Yes, thank you for asking. I want to say also, because we haven't spoken about preparation, there
Yeah.
is this preparation piece that is critical to my work. And I use that preparation, whether it's in emotional healing processes in person, on Zoom, like the one-on-one
Yeah.
sessions, whether it's in group retreats, workshops, whatever I'm working with, I use these maps, and these are distinction maps. And basically, the way that the maps work is we allow people to change their thoughtware. Like we have very old thoughtware going through our minds, right? It's thoughtware that was inherited from our great grandparents to our grandparents to our parents.
Mhm.
Now, more and more people are shying away from it. But really, my generation was still very much using these old maps of thinking of what is right and what is wrong and what is good and what is bad. And there was a lot of judgment, and particular being a woman, being born in
Mhm.
Mexico, there was a lot of that, of what was expected. So, for example, I'll give you an example of a map. I had a very difficult time in my own journey expressing anger, or even knowing that anger was present within me, because in modern culture, or in that culture where I came from, um, anger in women was kind of not okay, right? It's still a thing, by the way. I work with
Mhm.
many young women, and it's still a thing. Like anger is still not okay. And that's a bit of the spiritual bypass, by the way, that we were talking about, the danger of
Ah,
the spiritual bypass. And
yeah.
anger not being okay, right? When anger is such a driving feeling. And so this
Mhm.
is part of the preparation piece. We have feelings, and we're born with feelings that we can utilize to navigate our life moment to moment at all times. I'll give you an example that is silly, but it may land. I feel a little bit angry right now because I'm thirsty. And so I use that 2% anger, I drink, and it's done. We are, in fact, feeling
Drink
all
with
the
you.
great. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And we're so numb to this understanding, so numb to understanding that our feelings are our rocket fuel for life, right? That we don't even use the words. Why would anyone say I feel angry because I'm thirsty? If you really ponder, there's a feeling attached to the thirst, and the feeling is anger. And it's a small percentage, and it's there. So that's the feeling piece that I like to use in preparation before the ceremony. I open these maps of it's okay to feel. The other part is I also share in that preparation, you have emotions, what we just talked about. We have emotions that have been blocked. There's trauma that has been blocked. Everyone at a certain level point of their life has experienced a certain amount of trauma. And
Yeah.
I like to say that, yeah, I like to say that because it's become this, I'm glad, right, that it's become this buzzword now, and trauma is so openly spoken about now,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are criticizing that and judging that. And for me, it's like an experience that can be a trauma for you may not have been a trauma for your sibling or for you, right? So everyone works it differently. I think that that's really important. So when I open ceremony, I do an hour and a half workshop, and it's experiential, and we do paired work, and we do works in threes so that the group gets to know each other and we have experiences together. And we will then speak about feelings and speak how it's okay to feel, how it's okay to have emotions. And that's kind of the prep work. Then we take the medicine family style. And what I
Mhm.
mean by family style is this beautiful medicine is provided to us from Gaia, from Mother Earth. She's providing this for us. So
Mhm.
it's not for me. Yes, I have more experience. Yes, I'm the guide, I'm the facilitator. It's kind of my X on the map is somewhere different than theirs. And we're all our own healers, and we're all in connection with Gaia. So we do it family style. We dose it in pretty high doses, right? And there's a whole process about that I won't get into right now in ceremony. And they take their dose, and then when they go into their journey, their medicine journey, because they have already been given permission to feel, this is what people say later, they go into feeling, and they go into deep emotions, and they want to heal. Again, the intelligence. And the medicine allows the mind to relax, the mind to, right, take a step back. The medicine allows for that to happen. And so healing processes are coming, right? Emotional healing processes are coming. And then I go to each person. Something else I want to share, Tara, which is so incredible in ceremonies, which is there's an intelligence also in the field of the ceremony. It's a
Mhm.
very safe and loving container for healing, super safe, right? There's no way these people that I'm guiding will go in the jungle and get lost, for example, or things like that that do happen sometimes, unfortunately, in Peru, but or in the Amazon. But there's this very safe container there. Already got to know each other a bit. They already felt safe enough to have a healing process. And what I've noticed is even with a big ceremony of 15 people, they will take turns so that I can be with them and assist them when they're needing it the most. It's so remarkable. Like there's an intelligence in the field. I know. So there's an intelligence in the micro and in the macro.
I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners: the free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. What is your favorite? Because I know a lot of your ceremonies are
I know
psilocybin, right?
they are.
So why do you like to use that beautiful medicine?
Yeah, thank you for asking, and we'll go back to integration piece in a moment after the journey. Um, I want to I want to say that I'm devoted to all plant medicines: ayahuasca, peyote, magic mushrooms, as they call them, psilocybin. They also call them niños santos, the saint children, because psilocybin is a very playful medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason I chose, or actually I didn't choose, psilocybin chose me. There's this other thing regarding the spirituality of plant medicine. When people have a calling, this was my experience with my daughter, and now as a guide, it wasn't that I said, "Oh, I'm ready. I've got enough training. I've got enough medicine, and I'm going to do this guiding." And that didn't happen like that. It happened like this, and this will actually touch into the integration piece. I began to guide a small group of people in a big group of ayahuasca ceremonies. Many times these ceremonies now, because people now understand more of the healing around it, they're large, right? They're 30
Yeah.
people, 30
Pretty
people.
people. Mm-hmm.
Right. Big ceremonies. So began to open a space of, I can take you, small group of 5, 6, 3, 2, whatever, to the ceremony, right? I would speak with the maracame, the shaman, the medicine men, women. I have relationships with many of them. I speak Spanish, so that was also very helpful. And
Yeah.
I respect and honor them. And I would say, okay, I have this group that I will be taking care of more. And it was a yes. So I would be there during their journey, and then we would go and have our own integration because that wasn't not allowed. That wasn't offered in that ceremony. So that's how I began my journey. And what happened is one time, this woman from the UK, she called me. We had done this and had an integration process, and their integration was so big that they said that, and I say this with total humility, but they said 90% of their journey was that integration process, 3 hours of integration after the medicine. And that person from the UK called me and said, would you guide a ceremony for me and my friends? And it's 6 of us. And can it be mushrooms? And so she said that. And I've learned through my spiritual path through the years to listen to those messages. And I said yes, and I hung up and I went into my own field and my own meditation and my own connection. Because I don't like to, for me, it's more of a connection than a meditation. And I just said, okay, is this from you? Right? Am I ready? Is this what you want from me? And it was a big yes. So many mystical experiences that I had in my lifetime, Dara, but this was a big yes. And so that's how I began to work with psilocybin, because psilocybin asked me. And I feel that it's because of the playfulness of psilocybin as well. So my ceremonies have the big emotional healing processes, and they also have big emotional healing processes through joy. Collective
Mm.
joy, individual joy also happens. So people have their grief or their anger or like that, and their joy is always present as well.
Love
It's so
that.
healing. Joy is so healing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for
That's
asking.
beautiful. Do you want to
Yeah.
share anything else about the integration piece?
Yes, I cannot say enough about the importance of integration. I cannot say enough about it. So what I do is I don't have a schedule. We begin the ceremony. I like to do night ceremonies because I find that the fear that has been stuck and the sadness that has been stuck has more of a gateway at nighttime than during the daytime. It's a scarier place for them going back to their childhood. Does that make sense? So I, yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
it.
I'm just kind of like feeling into that.
Yeah.
That does make sense. It's almost like it's not, it's like you're less exposed.
Mhm. Mm.
I don't know.
Oh, the
That just
one
came
thing that's
to me.
exposed.
Like if
Mm.
it was bright out and it was during the day, people would maybe feel a little bit more exposed. Whereas if
Mhm.
it's in the evening, or the lights are dimmer and it's a little bit like more intimate, that
Yeah.
people could feel a little bit more comfortable if they
It's
had
true.
large emotions. Yeah.
That is true. It's very candle, lighting, super dark. So thank you for that. That is a big piece of it. And the other piece of it is that a lot of the trauma was stuck, mm, either during events that happened at night, or the child, let's say the child that had the trauma felt it a lot more at nighttime. It's kind of the scarier place. So
Yeah.
we want to open that doorway. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we
Yeah.
begin early. Yeah, we begin like 6, 7 p.m. We create this workshop space, this co-creative space where people get to know each other in experiences. It's not, hi, I'm da da da, and I was born. It's not that. It's experiential. Anything that really lands in humans has to be experiential. It cannot be, I was an instructor at university and I did not like to use PowerPoint, because it
Yeah.
had to be experiential. Anyhow, so I guess I have that advantage too, right? Um, so then they do the journey. And what I wanted to say is I don't put a stop to it. So I don't say, okay, guys, we're going to be done by 10 a.m. the following morning or 6 a.m., like other ceremonies, right? So once the
Yeah.
medicine is done, everyone leaves, right? 7 a.m., 6 a.m., sunrise, 8 a.m. A few people are left because they can't drive yet. So they're kind of like over there, right? It kind of works like that. It's for me, it felt really sad. That's the other reason I wanted to do this. It felt sad. People were just there on their own, still in their journey, and everyone left. And I didn't want that. I wanted all to be in this collective beehive, the way that we're designed to be. We're not designed to do any of this alone. We're so tribal, right?
Mhm.
Humans are. And so once the medicine is done, that we may get a little sleep, maybe not. And once everyone is back, we eat something, right? We finish with the fasting because they had been fasting. And after everyone ate something and they feel better, they hydrated more and all of that, we create a big space for integration. What I mean by big is big as in the field becomes strong again. It is a completely sacred setting. This is even before we close ceremony, by the way. So we're still have not closed the ceremony. It's part of the ceremony. And
Yeah.
we go through, yeah, everybody has an opportunity to share and experience. So I use a lot of my training in somatic experiencing and in group with experiencing as well, and in how to navigate spaces as a space holder so that everyone has an opportunity to speak. It's interesting because some people would want to go the lone wolf route and not say anything because it was very intense, and they'll go like they don't want to say anything, but the energy of the space doesn't allow for anyone to stay quiet. It is in the sharing that there's a lot of wealth of the learnings and the teachings and the empathy, compassion, and the healing happens in the sharing. So it's very generous to share,
Yeah.
it's a generous act. So,
Always, because what you
yes,
share could really speak to someone and they hadn't thought of it in that way,
ex-
or
yes.
something happens when we collectively all come together and share. I 100% agree. I just came from a retreat and it was
Mhm,
so powerful to just
mhm,
hear other people's voices about what they got out of the experience because it made me
mhm.
look at it a different way.
Exactly, exactly. Look at it a different way because you're looking at from this direction or this direction,
Acting. Yeah.
another perspective. Yeah, so that goes on for as long as it goes on. So we're really guided. My ceremonies are guided by spirit, are guided by the field, are guided by the humans within the field and the medicine. And I don't use a clock, they go on. So they can go on, the integration process can go on for 5, 6 hours, 3 hours. And not this Sunday, but last Sunday, I did a pretty big ceremony. It was 14 of us. And I say big because when it comes to somatic work, remember I'm working with each person. So that's pretty big for me, 14
Yeah.
people. And we started at 6 p.m. and we ended at almost 6 p.m. It was a 24-hour journey.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we ended up in a cenote. We ended up doing tons of integration. Well, we also ate more in between because there were other things in the middle. But it was important that everyone had their opportunity to share big time. And then the integration continues because we have a group chat. We continue connected. I'm always available for chat, for voice messages, for other sessions. I always recommend other sessions to keep going deeper, ceremony or not ceremony sessions. And so we continue having this container of safety. Many people share in ceremony more than they've ever shared with anyone in their life in one night. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And I
Yeah.
think you just answered this, but I think this is exactly what is different between these new psychedelic assisted therapies and your ceremonies is this hands-on approach. If there's anything more you'd like to speak on that, I think that the preparation and the integration is the key differentiator, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
psilocybin assisted therapy also does touch on prep and integration. I don't want to say that they don't, because I know of people that have gone through those processes and I've asked a lot of questions. There's a couple of distinctions, though. The length of it or the care of it, that would be the one I seem to, yeah, I have a sense that they're not as long. They're more, right, kind of guided in more of a structure, a schedule. That would be one thing. The other thing is the collective healing, Tara. People believe, because modern culture speaks about these individual things, right? If I get my VIP pass, right? I do it alone. It's my VIP pass. Like, there is this construct about aloneness and that's better. I do solo ceremonies all the time, or couple ceremonies all the time, and they are wonderful and they're amazing. And there is this wealth of this distinction about the collective, in the collective, like you say, a lot more. It's exponential. The healing exponential. The mirroring is exponential. So that's a beautiful thing,
Mm.
and that's a big distinction. The other one, which would be, I believe, one of the other big distinction, is the touch piece. Humans are deprived of touch, Tara. There's been a lot of research regarding this longing and deprivation of touch from a very early age. And I can go into a lot of kind of my conscious anger around that, of, different books that were out and that told us that our babies needed to figure it out on their own and things like that. And it's very sad. It's heartbreaking, really. So adult humans have an incompleteness regarding touch. So I find that in my ceremonies, obviously with boundary setting and all of that ahead of time, right? All of that is important. We and I have never experienced anyone that does not want to be touched when they're asked, or does not
Mhm.
want to be held and
Yeah.
really held while they're sobbing, and
Mhm.
touched when they're joyful and laughing. So in these psychedelic assisted therapies, touch is not allowed. They can only hold your hand, and there's all this body that is needing touch. The legs, the tummy, the heart, the throat, the head, because a lot of this trauma is stuck somewhere there also, right? So that is a beautiful thing. So yeah, I feel good that these other therapies exist and they're available. I really feel glad about that. And I wish they could go deeper the way that I experience and I've kind of designed this work that I do. It's quite profound, Tara. Yeah.
I know, and I can't wait to do a ceremony with you. So, what are your thoughts on the recent acceleration of the collective consciousness and mystical experiences?
Whoa, yeah, it's happening. I've been on this journey, like I said, for 20 years. I had no guide. I did not have a guide and didn't know where to find a guide. I had no clue. It was a very lonely path initially. And then I found that more and more people were in the path, and I started to find my own way. And I even I want to say I was guided to India. Again, it wasn't like oh, well, let me go to India. Like, I was guided to go to India, and I had my healer initiation in India with my Guruji, and that was beautiful. And still, he's very encouraging of, Michelle, follow your own path. You have your gifts, follow your own path. Just so you know, we are our own medicine, and I'm trailblazing in my own medicine. I don't have a hierarchy above me other than spirit and the medicine, Tara. And this is also important for people to really grasp. I don't want people to be following. It happens, right? They follow someone, and then that someone is also human, and something happens. There's been a lot of that in the space, and we can get into that in another time, because it does matter and it is important with regards to this acceleration. More and more people are offering different types of practices and medicine, and more people are unfolding their own mystical channeling gifts or their own mystical experiences, and they're very different. I just had a summit, the Tribalized Summit in Tulum, right? That I attended. I spoke at, And there was this young girl there. She did my workshop. She was in my workshop. She was sobbing and she said, Michelle, look at my hands. And she had sweat all over her hands. And I just touched her and she was going through her own mystical experience. And I was able to coach her like in 30 minutes, saying to her, you're not crazy. This is you channeling spirit. And the other part, so if we split it in parts, you have emotional work to do also, you know? But this is your channeling of your being, of your energy. Use this gift. Look at that. That evening, I saw her in the summit. She was putting hands on people, like in a few hours. So there is this acceleration in the field, and we're needing this. We're needing a lot more light workers, right? We're needing a lot more people to hold these spaces. And we all have to do our trauma and emotional work, because otherwise, a lot of the shadow principles could get in the mix, because there is a lot of, I want to say, beautiful power in these gifts and these mystical experiences.
Yeah.
And we want it to be used for bright principles, for light, right? For connection and healing and transformation and evolution and, yeah, love, for love, first and foremost.
Raising the vibration of the planet. I mean, healing, helping others know that they can heal and that healing is available to all of us. I think that we're all on that same, well, you and I know are on that same mission.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. I say to everyone, anytime you do your own healing work, your own emotional healing, you are indeed raising the vibration of the planet. And it's not mental, Tara. There's no guidebook. No, it's not mental. You chip at the layers and you clear space, and the emotion, the energetic, the spiritual gifts unfold. And that's the life. And it's an ongoing, joyful journey of healing all the time. I find a lot of joy in it, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the healing journey is lifelong. I'm just so happy that I had a lot of trauma in my life. And
Mm,
I believe our traumas are our teachers. And I am grateful for those traumas because it got me much further along on this path that I so greatly needed to be on
mhm.
sooner.
Yes.
So if I didn't have those early wounds, I
Mm,
wouldn't be where I am today. So it's all
mm,
just part of your soul's path. And I loved what you had said earlier. And I love that trauma is becoming the new buzzword too,
mm,
because, my retreat that's coming up is transcendence, remembering your true essence, transforming your trauma, and
mm,
I think that it's so important for more of us to become, have the tools and be more equipped to handle that. And I was actually, one last thing I want to say, and then it's back to
mm,
you.
mm,
Um, I was speaking with this amazing healer friend of mine, and she said, the depth of your trauma is going to allow you to hold space for trauma for someone else. So, what a gift it is, all of the traumas that you've experienced, because now the depth of that is how you will hold space for someone else.
wow.
It's like, oh, it just was so beautifully put.
Mm, beautiful.
So please tell us, how can the community support your work?
Thank you. I have a sense that because there's so much need, Tara, I work this work every day, right? On Zoom sessions and then ceremonies and in groups and all that. And there's this longing that I have, and I'll share up parts of it, but there's this big one that I have that goes like this. If we as a community had a space, like a physical space, a safe physical space where healing was happening all the time. So
Mhm.
community building, healing happening. And I'm not talking necessarily about an eco village, which I'm also very, very interested in and
Yeah, I love
I also
that.
do work. Yes, yes. I also do work with eco villages and communities so that they can have these tools because, like, I don't want to call them conflict resolutions, but really communication tools and everything like that. As they come into a conscious community, they need their own healing work, their own trauma work, their own forum work, so that they can communicate with each other, all of that, right? So that's like an eco village. And for me, I feel like having this nursery, this incubator of healing, like an incubator of healing. So a space where this can be happening ongoingly. Because I have found in all of the work that I do and in the ceremony work that I do, that there's always a few people that I would love to put them in my pocket and continue their journey for another month. Like there's more layers to be chipped at right away. The need is right there, right? As opposed to a one off or a retreat where there's 5 ceremonies or like that. But just a life up. You can stay a month, you can stay 2 weeks, you can stay 6 months. And the purpose is for healing, because there's a lot of healing also in these people that have gone through parts of their healing, holding space for others. I see it in ceremony all the time. The people that are going through the biggest healing in the medicine hold space for the others, you know?
Yes. Well, Michelle, we share the same vision
Yeah.
because I have a vision for the Divine Lifestyles Collective, which is very much what you just brought up. Like, one is the space online where it can be virtual, where different healers and practitioners can come together and from all over the world. And
Hmm.
I have a dream of having a space, an oasis where I take
Yeah.
what we're doing, the same principles, and we have that in our land. And this is a space that, different facilitators can come to, like yourself, or it could be, just different retreats coming in and out. But it's just like
Hmm.
this open flow collective style where we have this property and just people come together,
Hmm.
share their gifts, move on if they need to. So yeah, we share that same mission. So we should sidebar it and maybe create this.
We will sidebar it. And the
Yeah,
other thing to share that thank you so much for that question. And do I have a little time to share about another kind of
yeah,
longing?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another longing that I have in my work is I work with indigenous communities, and I'm living in Mexico. I'm based in Mexico. I'm in California now, but I'm based in Mexico at the moment, close to Cancun, close to Tulum. And so there's indigenous communities, and there's so many people that are also needing the work, and I'm working with them. I'm doing the emotional work with them, and these are families, and these are young families that really have such a cycle of poverty and violence in their lives. And so so the other thing that I want to ask and support is, I have this sense that as a healer, that's what I could be doing all the time, right? And so it's almost like healers in tribes, indigenous tribes and ancient tribes, and there's this photographer, Phil Borges, who has documented this. The healers are the ones that are there to heal others, and they're taken care of. And I'm a little scared to share it as I'm going to share it. I would like to be able to not have to worry about the bills and other types of things and the da da da, so that I could be holding these spaces for the indigenous communities, for the women's co-op that we're building there, for this community, for the young person that doesn't have resources, and that I know we could chip away at the trauma. And I find that that honoring of that has been lost, right? Of these gifts that has been lost. And I know, I can imagine that many healers feel that way. We're here to do this work. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's different ways, and we can definitely talk offline about this. I have some ideas
Mm,
that we can talk about, different ways of which you can structure it. Um,
mm,
so yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's anything is possible.
yes,
So thank
yes.
you for voicing that. Yeah, and we'll sidebar on that. So what is coming up for you? Tell everybody like what's next. Are you going? I
Okay.
know you're in California. Are you going back to Mexico? Like what's next for the next six
Mm.
months?
Right. So these next 3 months, I will be in the Bay Area, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, holding psilocybin mushroom ceremonies, and holding 2-day retreats. And I can share that with you so that you can share it with if anybody's in this area. So we're going to be doing those like 2-day retreats as a preparation, like in more intense preparation, and holding psilocybin ceremonies here in this area. Small groups. Yeah. Maximum 10. It can be in people's homes. I have a space here that somebody's loaning me, also in the Bay Area. I'm in Sonoma right now. I can also hold ceremonies here in Sonoma, and this space is stunning. So yes, that's what I'll be doing for the next 3 months. And then I don't know, right? There's a lot of possibilities. Colorado, New York is another possibility. For the fall, even before then, for the summer. Europe is also a possibility. I've held spaces in Europe. So right now, this is my focus, and I'm pretty much in the flow, Tara. Yeah.
Yeah.
So California, if anyone is interested, let me know.
Where can people find you online so they can find out more about your work and reach out to you directly to work with you?
Thank you, Tara. Yes, they can reach me at Life Tribe Retreats with an S at the end. That would be my website. They can contact me directly through there. Life Tribe Retreats with an S.
Amazing. And I'll make sure that everything is linked for you in the show notes and also on YouTube. Thank you so much, Michelle. I know you and I can go on and on for hours. She's very amazing, and I feel very called to work with you. So I'm super excited that you're going to be possibly coming to New York, and definitely check out her work. She is very special. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you for putting us all in contact, Tara. What a village weaver that you are for our conscious community. So needed. Really appreciate that, sweetheart.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.